He used to be my senior exploration engineer about 1,000 years ago.
We're all related somehow. He was a twat, no.
No, he sounded kind of like you. Kind of had a kind of Fandugo hairdo, you know, trying to make it look like you got more hair on your head than you got.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's got a similar. He might be related. I never could understand, or I could understand, that why the new hairdos they try to add an inch or two on your head, as they say here, by, you know, like Brian used to, Rose, and a couple of you in here do, because you're short. That's why you don't do it. If you were tall, Frank, the 7'3" guy, you notice he's got a skinhead. And when we talk about how to dress and how fat people can dress to be skinny and skinny people can dress to be fat and all these other things and stripes and plaids and all this stuff, last night you saw several things. We're going to start off with my old buddy Steve, though. That's the second movie about Mr. Jobs. A third one's coming out, and every movie that comes out subsequent is worse than the one previous because they're dead longer. Like a movie came out about Ted Kennedy here last year or two about when he killed that girl at Chappaquiddick back in 1969, I think, more or less. The movies about the Clintons will come out in 10, 20 years from now, and because the longer they're dead, and the Kennedys apparently fought that film for 30, 40 years to try to keep it from being made. Now, Steve, in a word, what was Steve?
Ruthless. An asshole.
He didn't give a shit.
He was an asshole.
He didn't share his toys.
Yeah, I mean.
He was a dick.
Now, guys and a couple of gals, success leaves clues. Every motherfucking one we're going to talk about was a fucking screaming asshole. Ruthless. Would stick their dick in your mama's mouth if she had 2 breaths left. Success leaves clues. And you're cunts. You see what I'm saying here? And those guys up there are ruthless. Those guys too, but ruthless. Except they got caught. Ruthless. And we have an inordinate amount of Dutchmen on the Hall of Shame. It's hard for a Dutchman to stay honest. It just is. But I'll say more about that when especially since I'm going to the Netherlands in a couple of weeks to speak. We'll talk more about that when we're not on the camera. Okay, what else about Steve?
Unreasonable.
I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. Don't confuse me with the fucking facts, asshole. That's one of my favorite sayings. I'm not interested in the facts. This is how we're going to fucking do it. And what do? Wait a minute. With your tail between your legs and you walk out. Instead of a dick, you put your tail between your legs and you walk out. Because you saw your parents do that. What else about Steve?
This way or the highway. This way or the highway.
Absolutely. And I did some work for Apple back in, a long time ago when he was still there. He used to try to throw programmers, coders out the windows. He threw the old kind of, not laptops, the old kind of computers, the big boxes that used to, at his employees. And what do? Well, did you ever think maybe that won't work? Yeah.
He said the nature of people is something that needs to be overcome.
Well, I would say it even more strongly. Human nature of the masses is shit. Remember, if love got the job done, you wouldn't be here, monkeys. Because even the shittiest mother in this room, your mom, not the moms that are in this room, but the shittiest mom that anybody had in this room, probably loved her kid. It's tough to find a mom, I've found a few, but it's tough to find a mom that doesn't love her kid. But what good has that done anybody? None. What else about Steve?
He didn't become a victim. So when he was fired from Apple, he didn't just mull around. He went up and set another company.
Correct.
Basically to prove them wrong.
Correct. And his first company failed. The first company he set up. The second company, and then it was bought out, and he came back, blah, 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 blah. Everybody knows that story. Everybody knows that story.
But even with that, on the board, he was willing to risk it all.
Yeah.
He went in there and said, I believe this, and they threw him out.
Yeah. And the doesn't sound much different than Mr. Musk. Doesn't sound much different than a lot of the guys. Mr. Ford, the original Ford, it still has his name on the company. These guys have they're not dissimilar to Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, Hitler. I mean, they all think, myself included, we all pretty much think alike. We're not interested in your opinion. We're just not. If you were so fucking smart, you'd be sitting here. And that goes to not all, but almost all the people that are in the personal development and the financial coaching business don't know a fucking thing of what they're talking about. Somebody, I forget, one of you that I talked to yesterday was asking me about EBITDA. I said, don't worry about it. The people that are teaching the financial course don't know what EBITDA is either. They don't know what amortization and depreciation is. You got to add it back. It's a cap. It doesn't matter. And you looked at me like if I was, saying a fucking lie. It doesn't fucking matter. We got guys on that wall that don't know what fucking EBITDA means. Yet at least 2 or 3 of you are going to go to some financial management course after you leave here because you're going to feel, because you're so self-confident. You have so little self-confidence, even though you're talking to the guy that is the #1 premier guy on the motherfucking planet since fucking Moses, me. You're still going to go to a course. Well, no, you don't even have to hire someone. You don't have to know. That's my point. You don't have to know that credits and debits have to equal each other. I'm probably confusing the issue by even bringing this up. Credits and debits don't have to, have to equal, but it doesn't matter that you don't know why they have to equal. That's what we're talking about, balance sheet. And the last thing, when I started talking about off-balance sheet financing, I don't do it now because it just makes everybody crazy. Off-balance sheet financing even means that there is another cloud, and I was using cloud before there's another cloud that you can do financing in, that you can do any fucking thing you want as long as you don't take more than 50%. The QLA model is based on you got to take more than 50%. But there's a whole other world of finance. It's called off-balance sheet finance that you don't have to. You can do anything. You can jack off, jump from. You can be God as long as you don't take more than 50%. And it doesn't affect your balance sheet. What else about Steve? Yes, ma'am.
So
Are you sitting in a hole?
Huh?
Are you sitting in a hole or are you just short? Okay, go ahead.
With Lisa, he didn't believe that he was his child.
Oh, he knew it. Until she thought she was smart. Well, yeah. He was saying, there's only 99.97% that it's my kid, and there's 300ths of him, whatever he was saying. Well, everybody knew that. But then when she was smart, but he let her starve to death. They were on welfare. And now he's not the only one. Napoleon Hill abandoned his child when he was first born because he was born with no ears. Born with no ears. Napoleon Hill filed bankruptcy, I think it's 2, maybe 3 times. Napoleon Hill was when you hide in the bushes and you club people and take them, highwayman. He was a highwayman. Nobody talks about it, do they? Andrew Carnegie knew all that when he hired him. But you don't want to know that shit. I'm the only guy. A lot of the gurus right now that you listen to maybe didn't do as bad a shit as I did, but they did some bad shit. But nobody never mentions it. They're thieves. And now they went from stealing to personal development stealing. It's no difference. They're crooks. What else about Steve?
He lived his vision. I mean, he believed in it so much that he showed it on the way.
Now, do you realize, now, it should not go unnoticed that how much different these people are than you. Am I the only one that sees this? They weren't afraid of anything. And if they were afraid, they did it anyway. Just the opposite of you. I tell people, and I've been saying it for almost 26 years, it's a cheap cliche. Follow your dreams, follow your passions, yada, okay? Nobody does. That's an exaggeration. Almost nobody, I'll say. Nobody. Almost nobody. Because if you were really following your passion and following your dreams, you would never quit. And yet people quit. Quit the program. Or quit following their dreams. Quit following their passion. What else about Steve?
Commits first, figure the rest out later with the computer.
Absolutely. I'm told, I don't know if this is true, what the rumor is, and we're going to, we have some comment from Wozniak, his co-founder, who is the mentee of one of my mentees now. One of my mentees on that wall mentors Wozniak now. And when we, off camera, when we go through the confidential private information, it shouldn't surprise a lot of people, because I always look at the audience, but it shouldn't, because these guys are fucking ruthless. Anything else about Steve?
He was happy people not liking him.
Amen, God. I hate people. You didn't die last night. I was disappointed. I woke up at 3:35. They're all dead. No, and I went back to sleep. No, they're not. See, when I say I don't like, I mean it. I don't like Asian faces. I don't like white faces. I don't like your fucking ugly face. I just don't like anybody. Now, there's a lot of people you don't like, but you don't say that. Why? Well, I don't need to go through the whys anymore. Okay, you saw last night, in addition to, you saw the little boy jump on the cow again, which I think is hilarious, but I can relate because my oldest son did that. Let's see, what else did you see last night?
The lion.
Oh, the lion?
The lion.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Lion's Hunt.
Yeah, the lion's hunt. You mean when the black guy's going to cut the leg off the lion?
Oh, no, he's basically, he went in the dressing room or whatever, and he's basically saying what a lion is, not the jackal, nothing, and then all of a sudden the lion just goes, he's the king of the jungle. And he just
That's who he is. The true nature.
Yeah. There's a slide coming up where a female lion is watching all this wildebeest go through. Sally and I went a few years ago to go see the migration of the wildebeest through the Okavango Delta from northern Africa through the plains to southern Africa, the continent. And there's 1 million wildebeest that make this migration, and it's very famous, and a lot of people there. And so we were there watching it ourselves. And then a female lion is watching all the wildebeest go by, and I mean, forever, not forever, maybe 5 to 8 minutes. And then a male lion gets tired of watching, he just jumps on one of the wildebeest and eats it. But you're the female wildebeest watching all the wildebeest go by, because you've seen a lot of opportunities go by in your life. But you heard about somebody failing, or you failed yourself on one of those opportunities, and so you're afraid to take the next opportunity. or you built up a little business, remember you stop playing to win, because all of you that have started a business have grown initially geometrically, from 0 to 50 to 100 to 500,000, whatever the number is, right? But then you stop playing to win, and you start playing not to lose. Because you're afraid, and we're going to talk about, the homework I gave you last night. What else did you see last night?
10x about.
Dan Lok. Yeah, I've been pronouncing his name for almost 20 years wrong. It's Lok, not Lok. Even though I say Lok, I've said Lok 1,000 times. It's Lok, like L-O-C-K. But in 2003, Dan contacted me. I don't know how, and somehow he bought me breakfast in Los Angeles. He flew from Vancouver, and I don't do breakfast, and I don't do lunches. I don't do business dinners. They're a waste of time. I don't need somebody to buy me a fucking breakfast, believe me. Anyway, so he came down to Los Angeles wearing a suit that looked like it was his big, older, kind of like some of you dressed, your older brother's suit, doesn't fit, and spoke broken English, he brought me a gift, which I still have on my desk, and when I went to see him a few months ago, I brought the gift, and it's a brass frog on some kind of holy moly fucking Chinaman rock or some shit, but I still have it, and I told him what, we talked about his strong suits, weak suits. Mostly he had just weak suits, not just the suit he was wearing, but and then about 2 years later, he came to the Castle seminar. And I don't know if we've gotten to that interview yet, because now he's breaking up my 3-hour interview into 5 or 8 minute snippets. And I was hitting and choking people in those days still. And he was saying that, now I look at the YouTubes, and I mean, it's a fucking, it's a walk in the park now. It's a walk in the park. But he then followed my instructions, and then Sally and I went up there to visit him maybe 6 years ago, more or less. And we met his then fiancée, who's now his wife. And then when I went to be interviewed a few months ago, in January, I believe it was, I was looking forward to going to his $15 million penthouse, which he does interviews in. But I went to his $25 million house. Now, some people say he bought that house, Dan, just because he knew I was coming. If that's true, thank you very much. Well, but he had the money to buy it, fully furnished. And it's, if I remember what he told me, it's about 16,000 square feet. And downstairs he has a big garage that he's got 4 or 5 very expensive cars. And then he's got 10 or 12 little ninjas, these little assistants, little ninjas, like from the ninja movies. Although one is not Chinese, I believe, I remember, right? But the rest of them are little Chinese guys. And he's knocking it out of the park. And some of you are products of his high-ticket sales courses. Course, I don't know if it's courses or course, I don't know exactly what it is. But when he came to the seminar back in 2004-ish, there was no internet to speak of. There was no LinkedIn. There was no Google. All there was shoe leather, as Bruce Whipple would say. Yet they did deals faster then than they do now. There was no mentor program, no, fuck all. I just kicked you out. I couldn't get you out of the castle fast enough. And they made billions. That's why the mentor program is. Goodbye, YouTube.